Gentlemen, imagine you're sharing one of the closest moments two people can experience together. In that quiet space, while your attention is focused on the connection between you, there is a question that has probably crossed your mind at least once, even if you've never spoken it aloud. What is she truly experiencing in that moment? Not what she says afterward, not the expressions you can see, but what is actually happening inside her body and mind as intimacy unfolds. It's a question many men have carried for years, without ever receiving a clear answer. Unfortunately, most of us were never taught the biological realities behind female arousal, emotional connection, and physical readiness. Today, we're going to change that. In this discussion, I'll explain what modern science tells us about the remarkable changes taking place within a woman's body before and during intimacy, why understanding those changes can strengthen your relationship, and how this knowledge can completely reshape the way you approach closeness with the woman you love. This isn't about criticism or blame. The vast majority of men genuinely want their partner to feel comfortable, respected, and deeply connected. The problem has never been a lack of care. More often, it's been a lack of accurate information. I'm Dr. Leah, and throughout my years studying men's health and intimate wellness, I've seen how powerful education can be when couples better understand each other's biology. Before we continue, if you appreciate respectful, evidence-based conversations like this, please subscribe and turn on notifications. Every week, I share practical insights designed to help men improve their health, strengthen their relationships, and enjoy greater confidence at every stage of life. Stay with me, because the next concept is one that many men have never heard explained clearly before. The first thing to understand is that intimacy begins long before any physical contact reaches its most intimate stage. For many women, genuine desire develops through a sequence of emotional, neurological, and physical responses that start in the brain. When she feels emotionally safe, respected, and genuinely wanted, her parasympathetic nervous system becomes more active. This is the part of the nervous system associated with relaxation, openness, and connection. As this response develops, blood flow gradually increases throughout the pelvic region, preparing the body for intimacy in ways that are largely automatic and outside conscious control. Rather than flipping a simple switch, the body activates one system after another in a carefully coordinated process. As circulation improves, sensitive tissues around the clitoris and surrounding pelvic structures become more responsive. At the same time, natural lubrication begins to develop as blood vessels supply additional fluid to the vaginal tissues. Another important change also occurs internally. The upper portion of the vaginal canal gradually expands while the surrounding muscles become more relaxed, creating greater comfort during intimacy. None of these changes can be forced or rushed. They depend on emotional security, patience, and sufficient time for the nervous system to complete its natural preparation. For many women, especially after menopause, hormonal changes can make this process take longer than it did years earlier. Understanding this helps explain why emotional presence, patience, and genuine affection are just as important as physical attraction. When a man creates an atmosphere of trust instead of pressure, he supports the natural biological responses that allow intimacy to become more comfortable, meaningful, and deeply connected for both partners over time. Once her body has completed that natural preparation, the experience of intimacy becomes very different from what many people assume. When physical closeness happens after emotional connection, adequate arousal, and mutual comfort have been established, the body responds in a coordinated way that involves far more than simple physical sensation. Sensitive nerve endings throughout the pelvic region have become more responsive because of increased circulation, allowing touch to feel more comfortable and pleasurable. This is why the same physical experience can feel completely different depending on whether her body has had enough time to prepare. Many women describe this stage as feeling relaxed, emotionally grounded, and fully present, rather than simply physically stimulated. That difference is not imaginary. It reflects genuine biological changes occurring throughout the nervous system. At this point, the brain also begins releasing oxytocin, sometimes called the bonding hormone. While the name is familiar, its role is often misunderstood. Oxytocin helps strengthen feelings of emotional closeness, trust, affection, and connection between partners during meaningful intimacy. It reinforces the sense of safety that allows both people to become more emotionally open with each other. This is one reason why emotional presence matters so much. Genuine attention, kindness, and patience create an environment where these natural biological responses are more likely to occur. Intimacy is never only about physical technique. It is also shaped by emotional security, mutual respect, and the quality of connection shared between two people. When these elements come together, couples often describe their experiences as more satisfying, comforting, and emotionally fulfilling than they expected. Another reality many men have never fully considered is the level of trust a woman places in her partner during intimate moments. Physical closeness is not only a biological event, it is also an emotional decision that depends on feeling secure, respected, and emotionally understood. Her body continuously evaluates whether the environment feels safe, often without her consciously thinking about it. When that sense of security is present, the muscles of the pelvic floor are more likely to remain relaxed, breathing becomes calmer, and the entire body responds with greater ease. If anxiety, fear, or emotional distance are present, those same protective systems can create tension that makes intimacy less comfortable, regardless of how willing she may appear. This is why emotional reassurance is never separate from physical intimacy. They work together as part of the same biological process. Research has consistently shown that stress hormones can interfere with normal sexual response, while feelings of trust and affection encourage the nervous system to remain in a relaxed, receptive state. For many couples, especially later in life, this becomes even more important. Hormonal changes, life stresses, and health conditions may slow the body's natural response, making patience and communication far more valuable than rushing the experience. Men often believe confidence comes from performance alone, but genuine confidence also comes from listening, paying attention, and responding to your partner's needs. The strongest relationships are built on mutual understanding rather than assumptions. When both partners feel heard, respected, and emotionally connected, intimacy often becomes more satisfying for each person because the body and mind are working together instead of competing with one another. That deeper connection is where lasting closeness truly begins and continues to grow over time. One of the greatest misunderstandings surrounding intimacy is the belief that physical actions alone determine the quality of the experience. In reality, a woman's brain remains one of the most influential organs involved throughout the entire process. Even after physical intimacy begins, her nervous system continues responding to emotional cues, tone of voice, facial expressions, touch, and the sense that her partner is genuinely present. This ongoing communication between the brain and body shapes how comfortable, connected, and emotionally fulfilled she feels. When she senses patience, affection, and sincere attention, her body is more likely to remain relaxed, allowing pleasurable sensations to continue developing naturally. On the other hand, if she feels rushed, emotionally disconnected, or pressured, stress hormones can interrupt those responses and reduce comfort, even when physical attraction exists. This is why meaningful intimacy is rarely created through speed or technique alone. It grows from emotional awareness and consistent communication. Many long-term couples discover that slowing down actually strengthens their relationship because it allows both partners to become more attentive to each other's needs. Rather than focusing only on reaching an outcome, they begin appreciating the connection itself. This shift often creates greater satisfaction than they experienced years earlier. The goal isn't perfection. It's learning to understand one another more deeply with every shared experience. When a man approaches intimacy with curiosity, respect, and emotional maturity, he creates an environment where trust continues to grow, making future moments together even more meaningful, comfortable, and fulfilling for both partners over time. As relationships mature, many couples begin to notice subtle changes in intimacy, especially during their 50s, 60s, and beyond. These changes are often influenced by shifting hormone levels, health conditions, medications, stress, and the natural aging process. None of these changes mean that closeness has to disappear. They simply mean that the body benefits from more patience, better communication, and a deeper understanding of how intimacy evolves over time. For many women, physical readiness may develop more gradually than it did in earlier years, making emotional connection even more valuable. Gentle affection, meaningful conversation, and unhurried moments together help create the conditions that allow the body to respond comfortably. This is one reason many couples report that their emotional bond becomes even stronger later in life. Instead of relying on assumptions or past expectations, they learn to communicate openly about comfort, preferences, and changing needs. These conversations reduce anxiety and help both partners feel understood. Healthy intimacy is never measured by speed or frequency alone. It is measured by the quality of the connection shared between two people. When both partners approach each other with empathy, patience, and mutual respect, the experience becomes more than a physical interaction. It becomes an opportunity to strengthen trust, reinforce emotional security, and deepen the relationship in ways that continue long after the moment itself has passed. Understanding these natural changes allows couples to adapt together instead of becoming discouraged, creating an environment where affection, confidence, and genuine closeness can continue to grow throughout every stage of life with greater understanding and lasting fulfillment. Perhaps the most valuable lesson in all of this is that meaningful intimacy is built on understanding rather than assumptions. Many men spend years believing they need to focus primarily on physical performance, when in reality, the emotional environment they create often has an even greater influence on their partner's experience. A woman who feels emotionally secure, genuinely appreciated, and free from pressure is more likely to experience relaxation, trust, and physical comfort. These responses are supported by the nervous system and reinforced through positive emotional connection. This is why kindness, patience, eye contact, affectionate touch, and honest communication should never be viewed as separate from intimacy. They are an essential part of it. Before we continue, I'd like to ask you a quick favor. If this discussion has helped you better understand the science behind healthy relationships, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Every week, I share evidence-based information designed to help men improve their health, strengthen their relationships, and age with greater confidence. I'd also love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Has anyone ever explained these biological and emotional changes to you before, or is this the first time you've heard them discussed this way? Your experiences may encourage another man who has quietly wondered the same questions for years. Conversations like these help replace myths with knowledge, allowing more couples to build stronger relationships based on mutual understanding, respect, emotional connection, and lifelong partnership instead of uncertainty or misunderstanding. As we bring this discussion to a close, I want you to remember one important truth. The strongest intimate relationships are not built on perfect performance. They are built on knowledge, patience, trust, and the willingness to understand each other more deeply. The biological responses we've explored today are reminders that meaningful intimacy is a shared experience involving the brain, the nervous system, emotions, and the body working together. When you understand how these systems interact, you stop seeing closeness as something to accomplish and begin seeing it as something to nurture. That simple shift often transforms the quality of a relationship more than any technique ever could. Every thoughtful conversation, every moment of patience, every act of kindness, and every effort to make your partner feel emotionally safe contributes to a healthier, more satisfying connection. Those small choices accumulate over time and become the foundation of lasting trust and affection. Remember, healthy intimacy continues to evolve throughout life. Growing older does not mean losing the ability to experience closeness, affection, or fulfillment. It simply means learning to appreciate the changing needs of both your body and your relationship. Continue caring for your physical health, communicate openly, respect each other's feelings, and never stop learning together. If today's video gave you a new perspective, consider sharing it with someone who could benefit from this information. Together, we can replace myths with understanding and help more couples build stronger, healthier relationships. Thank you for spending this time with me. I'm Dr. Leah, and I look forward to seeing you in our next conversation, where we'll continue exploring the science of healthy aging, men's wellness, and stronger relationships. Until then, take care of yourself, value your partner, and keep choosing understanding every single day together.